Hi, and thank you for being here today. My name is Amy Bryant of Wild Child Counseling here in Atlanta, Georgia, and Parenting Beyond Punishment, which is an online community and parent coaching. And I am here today with Lori Petro of Teach Through Love and creator of the Conscious Communication Cards. And we are going to talk today about the skill cards. If you joined us for part one, we had an overview of the Conscious Communication Cards and how to use them and why they matter. And then we talked about support skills and specifically how to support children who show, who we might typically label as shy. So today we're going to talk about the skill cards and how we can use conscious communication to help build our children's skills. Lori, thank you so much for being here with me again.
Yay, we're back.
Yay.
Yay.
It's always a pleasure.
Always
Plus,
fun.
lots and lots of laughing, which is always
Before,
enjoyable.
during, yeah.
Yes, before and during. So let's talk about the skill cards. And let me know when you want me to pull up the picture.
Yeah, and I know what you actually pulled out. I was looking at my notes. You pulled out a bunch. So we can just kind of work those in order, whichever one
Okay.
comes up. I have them all here. But
Okay.
so skills, I think we talked about support last week. So support is where we're bridging that heart-to-heart connection so that we can help kids build skills, because they can't really build the skills until they're in that place where they feel ready to move into, learning or practicing, that feel supported, feel connected. If they're disconnected socially, it's going to be really hard for us to work on that skill stuff. But here, I think I mentioned to you the other day that I had this really big realization about punishment that I wanted to share with you.
Please.
And I never did, so this is probably the place to do it. So I spent a lot of the beginning, I think, of my work doing, just uncovering and exploring this parenting journey and the work that we do, and really pushing back against punishment. I was a kid who was always punished forever and ever. Every summer, every weekend, every important day I missed because I had done something and I was grounded. But also because then we learned the research around punishment and that it doesn't do much long-term.
Right.
If
No long-term
anything.
skills.
No long-term. Might be some short-term benefit. No long-term skills. But it's really hard to pull people away from punishment, right? Especially when they feel like, and there's adults that say, you know what, I was punished and I have a great relationship with my parents. Mm-hmm. And so while I still don't think that punishment has any value, and it is especially, it's especially damaging to kids that have experienced trauma. I think sensitive kids are really, do not benefit, and it can be harmful. Punishment can be harmful. But for the average kid, here's what the real difference about punishment that I realized was, it comes back to the relationship and how you say it. Because if you have a parent, and I know parents that have done this, I have friends that had parents who punished, but they were so loving, and it never got personal for them. They never got angry. It was like, here's the punishment, and I know you're really angry, but this is the consequence. And I still, and they still had this very loving, connected relationship. So punishment, one, wasn't used a lot in those circumstances because the parent had such a close relationship. It wasn't used as often. And because it wasn't delivered with harshness and, like this anger, go to your room, time out, whatever it is, when we get reactive. It's when we deliver punishment with reactivity is when I think the real damage of punishment comes into play. Because this is obviously not a scientific explanation, and we know that science, again, still long-term, it's not going to do anything. So I don't think anybody benefits from punishment, but I know that there's a lot of parents that hold on to it and don't want to give up the consequence right away. So what I want to say to that is just deliver it with as much calm, kindness, and confidence that this is the right move without getting reactive or defensive with your child. And then that punishment, I think, will have much less detrimental effect, because one, again, you're not going to feel the need to use it so much. If you're delivering it like that, you're giving everyone time to calm down, including you, so you kind of are more thoughtful in it. But sometimes parents feel like, well, I have to uphold some kind of punishment in this case. And so I just say, I think it comes down to not the punishment, but how we interact with our kids and how we deliver that punishment. So that was just a big aha moment for
Like
me.
punishment that interferes with the relationship.
Yeah, or that is even just delivered with any kind of reactivity or anger.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if we're going to restrict a child and hand out a punishment, like say you're going to keep them from some activity that they enjoy, yes, it's not, again, I don't think it's beneficial to the long-term goal of probably whatever you're trying to help them with. But if you deliver it with this sense of self-righteousness, which I think in parenting, especially the traditional idea around parenting is, well, you're not going to act that way. Well, you're not going to do that to me, and I'm not going to take that. So when it's like that, it's defensive. So it's not delivered with this belief that I need to steer you in this direction. It's delivered with a defensiveness, which kids pick up on, and then we disconnect. So
I will say the caveat to that is spanking. If you spank your child in a calm manner, it still has the same effects as
absolutely
your child when they're angry.
I would physical violence of any, and verbal violence of any kind of violence that is behind. Like, I'm not saying punishment that involves violence. I'm talking about, like, if you think taking away your child's phone for 2 weeks is the appropriate step for whatever I'm probably saying, if they're talking back to you, taking away their phone probably isn't going to do anything to repair them talking back. So I still hold that.
They're still going to be angry, and then they're going to be resentful.
Exactly. But I just think that the relationship will supersede any punishment. So if that is strong and that is there, and the punishment is not the central focus, because there is such trust between that parent and child. And I'm only saying this because I have friends who have this relationship with their parents. They weren't punished very often. It was here and there. They're very close. They had sort of these parents that many of us didn't have growing up, because they were just more stuck in, more traditional, harsh, sort of authoritarian parenting. So I'm not saying punishment is okay, and never, physical or verbal violence, but just for a parent that wants to, take something away, I just don't want people to feel guilty. And I feel like if they're going to do that, at least deliver it without reactivity. That's all. That was like my main point. It was just when you deliver whatever consequence you think you have to put. And parents do that a lot with things like clean up your room. Well, then I'm going to take away this, right? Or these skills that we're trying to build. So this is not going to be, I'm not making the case for punishment by any means. But it was just, we're human and we're flawed, and people are going to punish still. It's not like we're going to eradicate punishment. And I don't want to try to be like this parenting, give what I believe are important values about parenting, and just kind of come down on absolutes, except for violence.
Yeah.
Because that's not my thing.
Imagine how our world might transform if we look at Germany, who has removed a punitive system for jails and instead replaced it with teaching system for jails. Their jails are almost empty. What would it be like if we removed punishments?
It would be pretty amazing. And for abuse, trauma, like kids that are put into systems and then punished, I don't care how kindly that's delivered. That's still a restraint, that's different. I'm not trying to apply. They're going to be reactive, because that's why I separate, anyone who's experienced abuse or trauma or had these, these experiences, that's never going to be helpful. Punishment is never going to be helpful, but it's still going to have that destructive effect, I think, when there is that trauma involved, because there's fear and you have to build the trust. It's different if you have sort of this really I don't want to spend any more time on it.
Yeah. I think they do too. I think you're just saying that if you're holding on to punishment still, remember to hold on to that conscious, compassionate piece.
yeah.
Hold the
And
relationship intact, right?
and this is about communication, right? So how do we communicate
Yes. How do we
the
communicate?
delivery of, and often punishments, little punishments like timeouts and things, they're often delivered with
Harshness.
and fear,
So much fear. Yeah.
because the
Our own
feel
too. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. It's, whether we're triggered or we're trying to, just intimidate because because we're fearful in that
Yeah.
situation, probably.
Right.
But yes, try to, when you have that knee-jerk reaction, maybe to inflict a consequence or punishment, think about how you say it. Because here's the thing, with the way when you think about that, you might not say it at all. You might come up with a new solution too. So the communication, we're going to talk about skills, right? Skill building. Sometimes we need to connect with our kids to help them move through whatever challenge they're having. Sometimes we'll talk about next week about how to help them regulate that stress, because sometimes that is what's overwhelming them.
Right.
But sometimes we're working on skills.
Yeah.
And it's not that we need to say, I told you that already, or do it again. It's what am I actually trying to bring out of my child? What am I actually trying to work on or practice? So should we pull up a card?
Yeah. Let me share. I'll share my screen.
Yeah, you share the one and I'll pull up whichever one you grab. So skills is when we're looking at, does our kids having trouble paying attention? Do they lack focus?
Is that showing up?
It is showing up.
Okay, good.
It is. Are we still oh, look, we're over there on the corner. Hello. Okay.
Oh, good. We are. Okay.
So this is where we want to, we're not necessarily trying to connect because we're already connected, but we're in this place where we want to brainstorm, where we want to problem solve, which again has to come after, solutions really have to come after the connection and the regulation. But there is a time and place for them. So hurry up. That's a good one, because who hasn't said that?
Hurry up. We have to go. What's taking so long?
Right? Trying to get out the door. I need to go. Stop fooling around.
Yeah. And
then I love, this is sort of when we shift that blame, or shift the responsibility. It's kind of like, I'm ready and I'm trying to be patient. But it's you. You're pushing me. Why are you pushing me?
Sorry.
Sometimes we get exasperated. Have you ever whined? I've whined.
Oh my gosh. I never whine. Of course. It's the worst.
I was like, why does it take you so long? And even if I don't whine out loud, I'm whining in my head. So, get it out. If you can whine in your head. Are you down with whining in your head, Amy?
I'm down with whining in my head. Sometimes I do. But sometimes it comes out. My daughter's super sensitive, and if I don't just own how I'm feeling, she's going to be like, what's up, Mom?
Yeah.
How does that look? I don't know.
Oh, you're great. You were fine before.
Okay.
Yeah. Can totally see it. So
okay.
Hurry up and follow direction. We'll get to that one after, but yeah. So, and sometimes we'll try to be, again, like you can say, just please stop fooling around. I'm trying to be patient with you. It's time to go. I need you to, and then our kid just sort of like, falls further onto the floor, melts into the ground, or stays in that hyper-focused place, where they're carefully balancing a Lego on another Lego and getting them to fit perfectly. And one more sound from your direction, we don't know where that's going to go, right? Sometimes it feels like we could be walking on eggshells, especially if you have a sensitive kid. I'm not saying this is to make it like a bad thing. It can sometimes feel like that if we're unsure of just ourselves. If we're feeling like low self-care, we go in, we're not confident. We want our kids to listen, but we're unsure if they're really going to listen, and we don't want to have the battle. Right. So we might plead. There's so many ways. I just don't want everybody to think that, again, this is all about, we go in and we blame and we shame, and people are like, I'm not harsh. I tell them that I'm being patient and I give them time, and then we get so frustrated, like, why aren't they still moving?
Mhm.
Why haven't they started moving, rather? Why are they still sitting? And then we might blame, like, here we are again. I don't know what to do because we're late. Every morning we're late.
Right.
Has anyone in the audience here? Oh, we have like a bunch of people. Awesome. Have you guys felt that? I think they can write in the chat, right?
They can write in the chat.
In
Yeah.
the chat. Well, if you have said any of these things or felt that.
And, I know sometimes I feel it and I'll just be like, I don't know what to do. I just own my piece of it because she's already feeling it.
Yes.
And I find that when I just say it out loud, I know you don't like to be rushed, and we're running out of time. What's the next thing?
Yeah. Or even, and you said those like right in a row, but you might say, I know you don't like to feel rushed, and then wait and watch and
Yes.
wait for her to then maybe relax her shoulders and look up at you again. And
Yes.
then you say the next sentence, which is, what did you say? No, I don't like to be rushed. We're running. We're running late or something. And then stop there. And then you might say, what should we do next?
Yeah, what should we do next?
Like another, and because we could spend those 3 minutes like fighting, right?
Right.
Or nagging.
Yeah.
Trying to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, did we do this while you were here, Lori?
Oh, look, so Jennifer's saying, yes, my wife. Well, it's
yes, my wife says all the time.
So Jennifer says, yes, my wife says all. Why does it keep disappearing every time I click on it?
I don't know.
You read it.
Yes, my wife says all the time that she doesn't understand why the last 10 minutes is always a rush, no matter how early we start getting ready. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You know what has helped us a lot, because I felt like we were getting up earlier and earlier and we were still rushing, is we changed our morning routine. So that was really helpful.
So you were talking earlier about rhythms. Did you change like the rhythm of your routine or the like rituals around it?
Yes, exactly. So my daughter likes to get up with her blanket and go lay on the couch when she first gets up. And then she was listening to a story before breakfast, but she was just listening to it longer and longer because we had more time. Right. And so instead we said, you can cuddle on the couch. Before we listen to a story, first we're going to eat. Then you can listen to the story. And while you're listening to the story, you can get dressed. And so that way she was able to still enjoy the story, the cuddle on the couch, but it wasn't interfering with, it wasn't ending in the rush.
Right, because you hadn't really
don't like to be rushed.
Yeah, and you don't start that like got her started on her getting ready process, but still giving her that wiggle room to sort of relax and ease through her morning. And my daughter is very much that same way. She likes to have some time to wake up in the morning. She doesn't want to just jump up. Like, she's not a kid that's going to jump up and jump in the shower. She takes her showers at night, actually, so that she doesn't have to do any of that in the morning. Right. And so just asking. And so I think we've talked a little bit right there about how we might help regulate children to get through. But then when we know that they're in a place where they're receptive to maybe learning and practicing.
Yes.
Just, instead of right here, avoiding a challenge, right? And so instead of challenging them with a question that really doesn't have an answer, because what's taking you so long, no matter what they say, we're not really going to give any credence to that answer. We're not going to say that it's like, oh, fine, I understand. Go ahead. Continue on taking 20 more minutes than we have to do. So it's kind of that question that doesn't have the answer, or doesn't, have an answer that we need to hear. So instead, if we could just prompt them with a question, it could be anything from what, like you said, what should we do next, to, well, how much time? And I will ask my daughter, how much time do you think you need to finish? Now, I think younger kids don't really have
time.
time concept, so they're not going to be able to guess. But I used to give her, my daughter, timers, because she she would just use the phone because it has everything on it now. But she would like that because she liked having a visual. She could see when the 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it was ticking down. So then she could brush her teeth, because she knew between 5 and 10, or between 10 minutes and 5 minutes, she could brush her teeth and take her time. And then she still had another 5 minutes. She would go in the bathroom and just kind of hang out. I don't know what she does in there. She just hangs out and she thinks, and then she brushes her teeth, and then she goes to the bed. And it would just take so much time.
Right.
So just helping kids sort of break up those time chunks, in whatever way, whether you use timers or whether they're old enough.
Mm-hmm. I have a friend whose child feels anxious by timers, so she does it by song. And so during
I was just going to say, what else? Yes,
dressed.
I love it.
And in this song, she brushes her teeth. And in this song, she gets her lunch in her backpack. And so it's music that makes her feel happy and safe. She knows them really well, so she knows when she's about halfway through, and she can move and groove and sing while she gets ready.
I love it.
Yes, such a lovely way to really get physically rhythmic and in tune with yourself.
Totally. And using a child's interests, too, to help them work on these. Because here's the thing. These are skills like focus, attention, staying on task. They're located in the big part of our brain, the thinking part of the brain, the executive center. So they're not well developed in young children. And even in teenagers, they're scattered. Their ability to stay on one thing, sure, if they're really passionate and they feel some sort of connection and contribution, they could probably stay on that task for 10 hours.
Right.
But if it's some routine task, we all need to work on that, right? We all need to sort of buck up and work towards staying on task with something that we don't like. So just recognizing what might help your child. So I love that you came up with the example of, or shared that with the song, because when my daughter when I would have to leave, or I'd have a meeting or a call, and she would, be home with me, she'd probably be watching something on the iPad. So I would tell her, it's one of your whatever shows that she was watching. And that would be like 22 minutes.
Yes. Right.
And that's how she would know, okay, mom will be back in this much time, because it was this show that was, 20 minutes long or something.
Yeah.
So I love the song, because that's like that same idea that kids can sort of.
Yes, we conceptualized by shows sometimes too. It's exactly one of these shows.
Right. I didn't want to be like, TV screenhead sharing that.
But screen time is realistic. One woman says in here, I don't know if this is a woman. One person says, TV is tough right now. It takes up a lot of time. This is a skill that is learned over time. How do we turn off screen time?
Yeah. I think screen time in the morning is tough. I like your daughter listens, is podcasts. Is that what you say? Their stories they were audio, not
audio. Yes. Yeah. Audio stories. We can't do TV in the morning.
Right. We can't either.
Us too dysregulated, and, our brain is turned on and our body is turned off, and getting those two back in line to go through the day is. And then kids
go to school, and teachers, the poor teachers, if they've had screen time in the morning, I feel like then we send them to the teachers, and they're like all just sort of all over the place, because screen time is dysregulating, and they kind of need to calm down from that. And so sending them right into the classroom is
a tough one. And I'm not anti-screen time. We have our share of screen time. So.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we definitely do. I would say that would probably be, I've done a lot of things really well, but screen time is not something that I have a good, it's hard. It's really hard. I don't have a good hold on, and I'm lazy sometimes. So
I think we need a break sometimes, and we lean into screens.
Yes, it's true.
And sometimes my kid needs a break, and she's like, Mom, I just really need to watch a show. I'm exhausted, and I need a break.
That's, sorry, it's like, am I losing light? Because I feel like I'm losing, it's getting, the clouds are even rolling in. Okay.
I can see that the clouds rolled in, but we can still see you.
Super dark. It's all right. I'll just get a glass of wine and some candles next time and make it really atmospheric. But yes, my kid will come home sometimes from school and she doesn't want to talk when she first comes home because she's tired. And so sometimes she will just come home and want to chill out for like a half an hour
Mm-hmm.
with a show. She has YouTube families that she likes to watch. That's like her thing right now. And then after that, then we connect and we like make a snack or we play a game and do something. But she has that time when she first comes home to sort of just zone out and whether that's a good thing, a bad thing.
Right.
It works for our family right now. But we don't do screens in the morning either for that same thing because she's not. I wouldn't be able to get her to do anything if she, I think, opened up with it. At least when she was younger.
The key is like what's working and what's not. And when things aren't working, you bring some new rhythm into it. You replace something and you bring in a new rhythm. And you see if that works and you try again and again. And so that's how it works for us. We're a little off topic, but it's okay. We were having this really tough time in the evenings and we were all really tired. And so we were going to our screens, but then we were missing each other because we weren't doing things together, like watching the same show or anything. And so I wanted it to be simple and sustainable, and we started having tea and snack and reading a book together. We read Harry Potter every night together for almost a year. And it was a lovely way to sort of bring us back together in a way that didn't require a ton of effort because we were just exhausted at night.
Yeah. Right, and you don't have the energy to necessarily do something like play a game. You just kind of want to chill out and... So we did sort of get off.
We did. Sorry.
Yes. A little bit off the topic, but just in recognizing where our kids are and how much energy they can put into a task in the moment. Yeah. Obviously in the morning, or if we're getting ready to leave, even just if it's in the afternoon and we have somewhere to go. I think just helping, being there to be supportive and not be there to be like the giant countdown that's going to buzz in their heads if they don't do it on time, and kind of the nag of, well, are you ready? Well, did you get this? And where's this? And are you ready? And it just kind of comes at them all at once. Yeah. Look for the appropriate moment, and it's going to be different for every kid, where they're going to be receptive to the next step. Right? Yes. I put your backpack by the door. That might help cue their brain to, okay, now I'm ready to go in and have breakfast. I'm dressed, mom did this, or dad helped me by doing this. And then when they go in, then maybe we can connect for a moment and help them settle their brain. Because sometimes the slowness might be anxiety. Yes. Might be just general anxiety, or maybe they're anxious about peers they're having challenges with, or they're anxious about a test that they might have, or something going on at school. If they're really little, they're worried about, Billy's not going to be there because he's at Disneyland and I'm going to have to sit next to Jack, who always likes to push me. Yes. And this is what's going on in the 6-year-old's brain all morning. Yeah. And we think they're just sort of like slow poking it around. Taking their time. Yeah. And they've got stuff that's weighing on their mind. So if we are just curious, like if we notice, and again, this is why these are not scripts, because there could be a million reasons why your kid is taking time in the morning. It might be some executive function and they see shiny object. Oh, I want to play with that. Oh, I want to remember to, do this after school, and they just get distracted. And so just, maybe sidelining them, being there to say, oh, I see, your shoes are over there. I'll meet you at the door. Right. Yes. It's prompting again. Yes. It's totally different than if the child is anxious. Mm-hmm. So I think really knowing our kids and knowing, just mapping their worlds. Yeah. I feel like I'm completely in the dark.
It's actually
okay. I think it's just because it's little, maybe. It just looks extra dark.
It is. Yeah. And then mine is like,
yours is so like so golden bright, and I'm like in the
I could push some onto yours. No, that's not working.
I know next Tuesday we're going to pray for sun.
Okay. Yes.
Like,
You know what?
oh,
I'll share some. I hope my daughter doesn't mind, but um, sometimes when she's having a really hard time, I'll give her a really tight squeeze, and it's almost like it helps her get back into her body more.
yes.
And then she'll go, "Oh, that's just what I needed. Pick me up this time," And she just, that squeeze can just really bring our children back into their bodies. And so if they're feeling anxious or worried or just distracted, that bringing them back into their bodies can really help them get back in track pretty quickly.
Yes.
Or they'll want to wrestle you, but
Right.
either way could be helpful.
But it's calming. So we're putting
Yes.
their brain back online, right? So it
Yes.
comes out of this rigid, stuck state where it's stressed. And I actually used to wake my daughter up with a massage
Yeah.
because it helped her wake up, it helped her mood, it helped her energy level. She needs a lot of that deep pressure
Yes.
stuff go anyway. And so that was always very calming for her. So that will, like, we think, if we don't realize what it can do to the brain, we might think, oh, we're just wasting more time. Why are we hugging them when they need to be getting their shoes on? But not realizing that that squeeze could help calm their brain so that they can
Yes.
focus, and then the shoes go on with ease and they're at the door, they picked up everything they need, and they've got it all together.
Yes. Leland is hoping we can talk about more tips for waking up grumpy or less than happy about the morning children. Got some more ideas?
Well, I guess it depends on what the root cause is.
Mm-hmm.
As they get older, if we're talking about 12, 11, 12, 13, 14, or, they start to want to sleep later.
Mm-hmm.
And we make them go to school at unreasonably early hours. I say
Right.
that. I mean, I get up like at the crack of dawn every day for some reason. It was never like that when I was younger, but now I guess, I don't know, is that old age what happens when we get older?
I'm
But
a morning person.
I remember being young and not wanting to get up. So I don't know that there's a solution if it's because my biological clock is now making me stay up late. Because naturally, developmentally, right, they start to stay up later and want to sleep in a little later. And we force them to get up so early. I don't know if there's a solution to that one, but a younger child, that we want to look at, are they, making sure they're getting enough sleep. And then how do we go in and wake up? Is it like, all right, time to go to school, everybody up. And we're like singing through the hallways and,
Yeah.
knocking on doors and, we got bluebirds in our hair. They're following us. And our kid is like, the cave door needs to shut, because some kids are going to be like, they're not going to be morning kids, but we
Yeah.
can maybe alleviate some of that if we check, is there like a
Yeah.
mismatch between our morning personalities?
Mm-hmm.
And that
Yeah.
kid might need to go in with, like like a snuggle. Like I sometimes will get in and just snuggle with
Mm-hmm.
the kid. And again, like I don't do it as much now because she's older and she doesn't need me as much to do
Yeah.
some of that, but just like with rubbing her face
Right.
and some of that. And then I leave, and I do this. I also make sure I don't leave it up to her. Don't leave it up to your children to keep the time. If you know it takes that child 60 minutes to have a full morning and get everything out and get everything ready, well, then you better start at 5 if you need to leave at 6 a.m. or you better
Yeah.
start at 6. Don't leave it up to them. Like, you didn't get up because you only got up, it's, with a half an hour. It's like, start that waking up process 20 minutes before the hour that they need, if you know that it's
Yeah.
going to take them 20 minutes to wake up and then they need a whole hour. So I feel
They,
like
they
we need
really
to,
they don't have the brain capacity to learn that lesson in the way that we think that they will.
right.
It's just not in their cognitive skill set
Yes, I'm not
to
trying
do
to
that.
like give us more work, but it actually will give us less work if we sort of,
Mhm.
and if we're up, it makes it easier. If we're also
Yes.
still sleeping, that's obviously going to be a little bit harder. Someone like me who's just up before, everybody,
I know. Me
I'm
too.
like, okay, I got every 10 minutes from 5 to 6:30, I can go in and give you a little squeeze to let you know if you know that it's almost time.
Yeah.
But I don't actually have to do that. I just can go in once, and then within like 10 minutes she'll get up on her own.
Mm-hmm.
And if she doesn't, I go back in and I do it again, whatever I need, this gentle wake up. But that's my kid. I know that I can't go into her room singing and dancing about the morning. Or, obviously once in a while, if we wake up late, we have to do that. So
We
this
have
is
to go in a little quicker. Yeah.
exactly, we have to go in and we might have to, rush and make everybody wake up. But in general, what's the rhythm
Yeah.
of the morning?
Yeah.
We have to really find our rhythm, because some kids might be, waking up grumpy because they know that every morning is anxiety producing.
Yeah.
And it's a rush, and it's a, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. What we know too is that throughout the day, our regulatory systems become more and more dysregulated. So the more we can start our mornings calm, we go in and we squeeze our. When my daughter was young, she wanted to be cuddled, so I would go in and cuddle her until she rolled over, and we'd talk and whisper. Now she wants me just to give her some squeezes, to rub her back, to kiss her on the cheek, and then she gets up. She's 9 now, and so she wants less and less of me in the morning. But as they get older, they still need a calm wake up. Now, if they are excited and happy and they get going, that's okay. That's where they are. I would ask your 10-year-old son, what feels good to you in the morning? What feels good to you? What have I done that you like? What have I done that you don't like? And those alarms that go, burr, 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 please don't do those. They're horrible for everybody. Like I just dysregulated myself making that noise.
So. I know, and it was very realistic. I don't know how you did that.
Can you tell how I woke up?
But I think we're afraid to ask our kids questions sometimes. Like when you said, "What do you do? What do I do that you like?" Or what works for you? Mm-hmm. And fantasizing, what would your perfect morning, and even if it involves eating ice cream and never going to school, just let them have that, because you'll get to the real workable stuff after we get through that. But I would love to hear what your son says about just like fantasizing about the perfect morning. How would it go? What would you do? How much time would you have? Where would you go? How, just all of that, so that they can feel like in charge again. Sometimes kids don't feel that they're in control of much. Yeah. You tell them when to go to bed, when to eat, how much they can eat, how much they have to eat, what time they have to go to school. Then they go to school and they're like, sit here, get in line. You can't go to the bathroom unless you ask. You have to raise your hand. Don't talk. This is the wrong time to talk. And it's like, oh my God. Sometimes I wonder like how we're not raising, like how we're all even getting through this with the amount of sometimes stress that we put on ourselves as parents and on our kids, just not on purpose, but just because we think that we have to live within all these structures. Check in with your kid, because once we figure out where it feels really bad, we can shift some of the stress, because we can't always take away all stress, right? We're still going to go to school, we're still going to have to raise our hand, but if we feel like we have some control over our lives, and we feel like we have some people that are on our side, mm-hmm. I think that makes the difference in mood.
I think so too. So Leland says his son would be eating donuts every morning.
I would, and
sounds delicious.
Sounds like a plan. Can we go there like just once a week?
Right. Or you fix some, whatever. Here's your donuts, and it's like a bowl of cereal, and y'all laugh about it. It can also just be fun and games when you can't have donuts. Right.
Or just even, you don't even have to ask these questions at breakfast, so that it's like, well, I can't have donuts, because we don't want to immediately go, well, we don't have any donuts, obviously. So we have to, we don't want to get logical.
No, this is all proactive. So the night before, or when at snack today after school, or whatever, this, tell me what I can do to make your mornings better. My daughter would be like, don't make me go to school. And I'd be like, what else?
Exactly. Yeah.
What would you do if you didn't go to school? Yeah.
And sometimes just getting that out and letting them feel and talk about what they would do if they could choose.
Right.
It makes not being able to choose feel less harsh and imposing.
It does.
Because some, again, every kid's different. Some kids just, it rolls off their back. And other kids really need to find their way with being, I was a kid, didn't like to be told what to do.
I
And
didn't either.
as I got older, like 7, 8, 9, like I really remember feeling like if just it felt so restrictive and like I was gonna die sometimes. Like that's how emotionally overwhelming it could feel to me, um, to be controlled or to feel like something was unjust. Because
Mm,
to, an 8-year-old, not being able to do something that they think should is like, we might say, oh, there's no time, or you're not allowed, or I'm saying no, but to them it might feel like, well, there's no good reason. And it
right,
just, we don't have perspective at that age. We
right.
can't really think about the big picture. So in that moment, we just feel pain and
Yeah. Why should I hurry up? Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And
Uh, Fancy said kids don't like to be rushed, but parents don't like to rush them too. And sometimes we get really angry because we keep rushing them. And I think that that's right to your point, Lori, that you said that sometimes we have to give nonverbal cues because the more we're ramping up, hurry up, get your stuff, what's going on, what's taking so long, right? The more we are ramping up, the more they are too. And
yeah,
so those nonverbal cues, sometimes to be funny, my daughter and I will do that, point our fingers at our
watching
eyes and
you. Yeah,
theirs,
yeah.
like, I see you, what are you doing? Just to get that laughter. She'll do it for me if she thinks I'm getting a little irritated, and I'll do it
Yes.
to her.
Love it.
Yeah,
Breaks the tension.
it does. Like, I see you, I know what's going on, you know. Um, and this is sometimes using these things are about managing our own upset. And that's what I love so much about these cards. And I know Lori says that these aren't scripts, but they're a nice way to begin. In some ways they can launch your script, and then they evolve over time what becomes more right for you and your family.
Yeah. And you can use, I was just looking at on the follow directions. It has be curious, validate needs. And it says, I'm wondering if you feel stuck when you try to do it on your own. I can tell you wanted to do it without help. This
Yeah.
could be on the hurry up card just as easily, because I can totally see my
Yeah.
daughter who, from the time she was 2, her, sentences where I do it by myself. And so she will have maybe a very specific sequence and order of how she needs to, brush her teeth and then brush her hair and then do the, and if I come in, and she might stop and need to think about it. But if I come in and try to help her or try to tell her, if you would just, put your coat on before you brush if you just brush your teeth before you put your coat on, then you wouldn't have toothpaste all over. I could come up with so many things that I could say to sort of, you know, try to guide her in a new direction, right? But really just tell her what to do.
Right.
That would just make her go slower and
Yes.
disconnect us.
Yes.
But if I go in and just say, just that second part, like, I can tell you wanted to do it on your own.
Hmm.
Because maybe I did say, well, if you would just blah, 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 and then she gets frustrated, and then maybe I have to come back and repair.
Right.
And I can say, I'm sorry. I know that we have limited time, and I know that you wanted to do this by yourself. And
Hmm.
then I might just offer my help. Like, let me know if you need me to do anything. And then she might say, can you get my smoothie from the kitchen and leave it by the door? Like, she might then start to put her own plan. Now, again, she's 12, so we're not going to expect this from a 5-year-old to
Right.
necessarily do this. And with little kids, I don't know, what's my biggest advice, I think, for little kids is really having,
I think it's being willing to be with them.
yeah,
I think one of the biggest complaints I hear from parents with little kids, well, there's two. One is they want to do everything and it takes them forever. But the other one is they want me to do everything with them. They can put their clothes on, but they want me to do it. And they can go to the bathroom by themselves, but they want me to do it. And it takes so long because I have to do the lunch and get breakfast ready and get dressed myself. And um, figuring out how to put it in our schedules such that we're ready so that we can help them can can really alleviate some of that hurry up,
yeah.
because our goal is to teach them long-term skills so that they can do it on themselves by themselves, and sometimes that means that they need us there as they're learning them.
That's such a great point, because we can feel like, I know they can do it by themselves.
Yes.
And so we just have that expectation that they should be able to then carry it out like on a time limit, stay on task and within this time limit by themselves.
Yeah.
And it really just isn't, it's just not true that way. Plus, I remember reading, probably I saw this on Facebook, but somebody put it in like, a meme that said something about when they ask to do it, you to do it with them, it's because it makes them feel good because they feel loved.
They feel loved.
They feel loved when you do it with them. It makes the practice of doing it, they still are doing it on their own, but you're right there.
Yeah.
And that connection helps their brain feel safe and secure to then step forward, practice whatever they're working on, tying their shoe, going to the bathroom, putting on their, whatever it is, getting their backpack together. And then every time, like we said last time, every time they do it with us close by, they will do it faster next time and be more independent. I had a counselor once say to me, and I don't know if this was like from a specific psychologist or somebody that said it in like the field, but she was a clinical social worker, I think. And she said, the more dependent we are allowed to be, the more independent we become. Mm-hmm. So it's not push our kids to be independent. It's let them depend on us for as long, not depend on us like we do everything for them, but lean on us and look for us to be there as support for them. And then the more independent that they will become if they're really allowed to have that dependence, especially when they're young.
To know that they can depend on us, that if they truly need help, we can at least be there, our presence be there as we support them in doing something that's really hard. I can see this is hard and you're trying so hard. Yeah, I love that. And sometimes when our young children are clinging to our legs for a really long time, we might think, oh my gosh, it's never going to happen. But it will. It does.
It does definitely happen. That's for sure.
Lori, we're out of time.
We are.
That was like the fastest 50 minutes ever.
Oh, we did 50 minutes?
We did 50 minutes. Yeah.
Crazy. Oh, we rambled a bit in the beginning, didn't we?
We did.
A good ramble, hopefully.
It was. I think so.
Oh, I look much brighter there than I did in my other screen.
You looked lovely.
I came back full. Okay. It looked like I was literally in the dark with like the shadow of a silhouette. That's what it looked like when it was tiny, when you had the thing up. So I was like, am I totally in the dark now?
I could see you on my screen.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So thank you for being here, Lori, and thank you parents for being here and educators for being here. I appreciate it.
Are you doing